but you're going nowhere. Don't blame me for what you've done, because I know that you were having fun.
Welcome to the Clarified Realty Podcast, exposing the real estate secrets your agent doesn't want you to know. Here's your host, Tom Clary.
Well, don't you just walk away. That's when I'll say.
Welcome to the Clarified Realty Podcast. I'm Tom Clary. I'm your host. I'm a real estate agent here in the beautiful state of California, Los Angeles to be exact. I'm here with my co-host, as always, Ron Bruno. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, Tom. How are you?
Well, you know, we were not here last week. We didn't put up a podcast because
we were in technology ball land.
You were in technology ball. I was
Yes.
in disease and flu land.
Ooh.
Well, not flu, but definitely virus land.
I will take Texas over virus
Land any day.
Yes.
Yeah. So we apologize that we were not here last week. It was a bit messy at the Clary household, so didn't think it would be a good idea to spread it to everybody. So
Understandable.
You can probably still kind of hear it in here, so I apologize to everybody out there if you're listening to this and go, well, he really should clear his throat every once in a while. But, you know, that's the way it is.
The show must go on.
The shoe must go on.
The show must go on. Or the shoe.
Or the shoe. I should probably be wearing shoes too. So anything new or different going on with you? You said technology ball. How'd that go? I saw the pictures. So that was a major success. It looked like.
It was.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
It's so my wife, Karen, she puts together a black tie gala for the technology community. So, had the best and brightest in the technology community. So we're looking at we have executive hosts. So these are the VPs of IT, CTOs, CIOs, Chief Information Security Officer, CISOs. I'm learning all these acronyms.
Right.
Really great people, so
Good.
Karen's really grown it from, 20 executive hosts to now over 60.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see the pictures and see all those people in their, gowns and
I know.
black ties. And I think, wow,
Yeah.
Ron and Karen are definitely getting the hoi polloi together.
Yes. So it's become the go-to event in the DFW area for technology, and they call it IT prom.
Oh, there you go.
Right. Okay. So the ladies, they dress in full-length gowns, and the gentlemen are in black tie.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. It's a family business.
So today is we're going to be doing a news-centric today.
Mm-hmm.
Today's news, all about the news that's out there, and we actually have some really interesting stories today. So why don't we just go ahead and jump right onto that, because there's a lot to talk about. So what was that first news story we got over there?
Sure. So the headline here is, it says, would student loan mortgages solve home ownership problems?
Yeah.
So this comes from Mortgage News Daily, which is a website that I frequent to find out what the latest.
Because you were a mortgage guy.
Because I'm a mortgage guy.
That would make sense.
It
would be
makes-
very weird if, some musician or something was going to check out Mortgage Daily every day.
Unless they're actively shopping, and in which case they can just stop and talk to me.
Just talk to Ron.
Yeah, they don't have to go to Mortgage News Daily. But I go to Mortgage News Daily. I like this story. So this says, in June, the National Association of Realtors released a working paper from the Rosen Consulting Group and the Fisher Center for Real Estate and Urban Economics about affordability, post-foreclosure stress disorder, access to mortgages, student loan debt, blah, 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 right?
Right.
So...
By the way, that was the first time when I read through it.
Mm-hmm.
It was the first time I actually heard someone kind of put a name to what I've been talking about for the last year or so on this podcast,
Mm-hmm.
which is that emotional distress that people are feeling after the Great Recession. Like literally, they saw their families getting
Mm-hmm.
foreclosed on and all that. So they're kind of calling it like PTSD, but it's, what is it?
Right.
PTFD?
Post-foreclosure stress disorder, so
Well,
PFSD.
PFSD. So now I have an actual acronym for it. Somebody gave it. But yeah, you were saying?
Yeah, so I like this, because it gives different ideas, right? So it's traditionally what you need to do, and definitely in a place like California, you got to save up a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, yeah, they have 1% down programs and 3.5% down programs and 3% programs. But, you are limited as far as you're going to have to pay mortgage insurance.
Right.
Right. So, the staple is saving up for 20%.
Right.
And if you're buying a $500,000 home, then that's $100,000.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
A lot of people don't even have $100,000 in their 401k, let alone in their down.
Well, and especially at that
for a down payment
at that age,
Right.
for the first time home buyers, most people, are in their 20s or whatever, and they haven't had a chance to really, they're barely making their car payments at that point, and
Exactly.
and they don't have any kind of their pay hasn't increased, so of course they don't have a little extra to stow away for something like this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, unless you're extremely disciplined, what people typically do is the money comes into their checking account and they wait till the next 15 days and then they pay their regular bills. So unless you have something separate where the money just automatically goes out so you don't see it,
Right.
and you don't have access to it,
Yep.
right? Like a 401k,
Right.
then it becomes very difficult to save for a down payment.
Right.
Right. So one of the ideas that the Rosen group comes up with is let's treat it like an IRA
Like literally
or a
like
401k. Yeah. So let's set up a tax deferred account
Right.
that is specifically designed and has penalties around it, like
Right.
for early withdrawal and using it only for specific purposes.
Right.
But let's allow us to create that where you're able to save up for it and then put it in an interest-bearing account, and maybe it's around stocks and bonds. I'm not sure, but you let it grow, and then when it's time to buy the home, then you can make that withdrawal, and then you either pay that out, right? So if the money goes in as tax deferred, then you pay taxes on the way out, right? Or let's say it's after tax, kind of like a Roth,
Right.
where you just have it from your regular paycheck, and your net is say $2,500. If you take that $250. 10%, and that goes to that particular account, it grows tax deferred, but when you take out the money, it's not taxed,
Right.
Because it's already been taxed one time. So I like that idea. I think that makes a lot of sense.
No, I love this idea. I actually think it's really good. I think it focuses the efforts. It really kind of, with laser-like, precision, kind of says, you know what, I want to have this amount saved by this year. I'll put it in this account. If it's tax deferred, even better. Oh my God, that would be amazing. And it just seems like when I was younger and I was just, like I said, just trying to make ends meet. And even when I was newly married, you've got all these costs and things that you never even thought. Rent, you got this, you got that, and you kind of there's almost like a feeling of, well, there's no way I could do it.
Right.
It's just like, well, I'd love to, but I might as well just buy my PlayStation because I'm not going to, to have a dream of buying a home is just unrealistic.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And
So I might as well take that $400 and have fun at least.
Yeah. And we had,
but it's unrealistic too.
We're right. And we had our, early in the podcast days, we had Tim as our guest.
Right.
And what he was talking about is to break it up into little bits.
Right.
Right. So, create a budget and then be able to, so while this product doesn't exist right now, but
yeah, right. We should make that caution. It's
create it. Right?
This doesn't exist, but this is someone, a think tank or something like that is basically saying this is something we think would help the industry.
Correct.
Right? And I would say that that's a good idea.
Yeah. I mean, right now, what you could do is you could set up a savings account or a brokerage account, depending on how long out,
Right.
whatever your time horizon is, and money that you earn from your pay stub, you just set aside that amount,
Which you should be doing.
agree.
You should be doing that anyway.
Correct.
That's how you should be doing this.
Exactly.
That's the best tool we have right now.
Yeah. And when I was a financial advisor, I had clients that did this,
Right.
they would set up a separate account and they would call it house down payment. Right. And they would just set it up where the money would automatically go in to that particular account. And depending on how close they were in actually buying the house, that would change their profile in terms of the stocks and bonds that they would buy. Right. So if they were 6 months out from buying a house, it's not going to be invested in the market. Right. So it'd be either all cash or in something that's very short duration. Right. So something that has a short term in terms of the payoff. Right. To reduce the risk associated with that. So that's what people can do now.
Yeah.
And, until something like this exists, that's probably their best bet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are other options though, also that they were talking about.
So they also talked about a graduated payment mortgage.
So go into that.
Yeah. So the idea there is, when you're in your early stage of your career, you're only making so much money. right?
Right.
So if you are able to set up your loan where you're paying less in the beginning stages, and then as you progress in your particular career and make more money, and you have access to more, being able to pay down that mortgage, then your payments go up, right? So right now, student loan programs have this.
Yeah.
Right. So they'll actually set it up where for the first 5 years, your payments are pretty low, and then it grows from there. Right. And that's all based on, assuming that you continue to grow.
Well, but see, that's the thing
earnings.
though. And that's the thing that I mean, I'm less excited about that idea because I think that in theoretical,
Right.
it makes theoretical sense.
Sure.
But in actual practical living your life kind of sense, I don't. It makes the assumption that, first of all, I would only advise this for any kind of like professional, like some sort of like attorney, accountant, doctors, that kind of thing, where pretty much they're not going anywhere for any time soon.
Or an engineer or someone who is on a specific path that has specific increases in their income.
Exactly.
Right.
And because you don't know when there's going to be left. And by the way, engineers, like my dad used to work at Lockheed, and they get layoffs all the time. You know what I mean? So that kind of stuff would always worry me. Like if I had this thing, the graduated payment thing, I'd always be worried that the next year my payments are going to go up. And so now I have to come up with even more money.
Right.
So that's one thing where I would be a little bit, that's one idea I'm not so on board with.
Well, and they used to have these, right? So they had the pick a pay mortgages back in the day, right? Where when there were negative amortization loans, where you just decide what you want to pay this month, right? And you're like, well, I'm going on a cruise, so I'm not going to pay anything from a mortgage. I'll pay $1.
Boy, I'm so happy I don't have to pay this month.
Exactly, but then your balance goes above what you originally had,
and
as
interest
your
on
principals,
top of it,
and the interest on top of it, and then next thing you know, the house is underwater,
right?
And
exactly.
That particular lender is at incredible risk of default. So they're not as popular anymore, for sure.
Right. And, I guess you could say that they can't repossess you if you're, well, I guess that's a student loan thing, is that basically if you don't, if you can't pay at that point, what are they going to do? Take the education away?
Right. Exactly.
It's like, no, they'll ruin your credit, but
Right. Yeah. And student loans, you can't even extinguish them in bankruptcy.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And then there was also, they were talking about our good friends at Unison.
Shared equity.
Shared equity.
Yeah.
Which is another way to potentially get more money for a down payment. But like we've talked about on this, so we think there are very specific ways that this is a good thing. That there's, as long as you have a really good strategy for why you want to go in and let someone share in the equity of the house. Yeah. That's like I said, I've said it many times before on this. I didn't think it was a great idea, and then all of a sudden it warmed on me, because I think there are specific scenarios where that could work.
Right. So, and especially places like California.
Yeah.
On today's Alexa, there was actually a report about Los Angeles, right? Being
on our Alexa.
On our Alexa.
Got it.
So Alexa today that comes out. So today is, what is today? The 10th?
Thursday the 10th.
Yeah, Thursday the November 10th. So if you were able to download the Alexa, they actually, there's a news story about Los Angeles being the least affordable home market in the country.
Right.
I mean, it's just crazy, right? So they based it off of affordability, and in the U.S., out of the homes that were sold between July and August, 58.3% were technically affordable, right? Based on their metrics. In Los Angeles, 9.8 were affordable.
It's tough.
It's tough.
There.
So, shared equity programs are popular from that standpoint because, it gets you in.
Yeah.
Right? So you might not have all of it, but then again, you don't have all of the risk.
Well, and that's something that the story also was kind of getting to, was that there's a feeling of amongst folks in the younger millennial and all that kind of thing, that if they're saving now, they're chasing the market,
right?
Because the market's going up faster than they can save.
That's right.
So that's another situation where it's like, if you want to potentially, if you strategically, like if you're out there and you think that strategically home prices are going to keep on going up the way that they're supposed to for over the next 5 years or whatever it is,
correct?
That's everything I'm hearing.
Yeah, is
that you want to stop that hemorrhaging. So you make this jump by going into these equity sharing programs.
Yeah.
You're going to take a hit on that equity or whatever, but you've stopped that bleeding.
Correct.
And you're jumping in now before it's, 5 years from now, and then now the house is another $100,000 more.
Right. Well, it's a hedging strategy, right? So just like you're trying to buy a stock, or you can buy an option, right? Which allows you to buy at a future price an X amount of equity, right? So it's similar from that standpoint where you share in the upside potential, but you also don't have to pay all of it. You don't assume all of the risk, right? So it's for certain people and in certain markets, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. And was there any other options was that the last one?
That was kind of the last one.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Great. All right, what's next?
Okay, so the next one.
Next news story
is
Ron.
Millennial home buyers send a chill through rental markets.
Now, I was happy to see this.
I was too.
For the last 3 years or whatever, we've been hearing about, the millennials aren't getting in the market. The millennials aren't getting in the market. The millennials are, And it was like this broken record. And, I knew that it was coming. I knew that there was going to be some little ignition point, and they were all going to jump, and that's what happened.
Yeah, and I didn't think it was going to happen this quickly, but so it says home ownership has risen to its highest level since 2014, causing analysts and investors to wonder whether the rental market's good times are ending.
Yeah,
right. So we've talked about our good friends over in American Homes for Rent and Invitation Homes and Blackstone and all of that. And they actually had disappointing revenue growth for the third quarter.
That's interesting.
And what they're citing is the people that they bet on, right? So if you think of, why they did this. So they bought these homes. So to give a little reference point. So Blackstone is a private equity company, right? They use their money.
By the way, Blackstone, can you have a more diabolical name than Blackstone?
Yeah, but I think
it's literally, you can imagine a guy with a handlebar mustache, do you think that's why they did it?
I don't know.
Come on.
Maybe. They have BlackRock, right? So that's an investment company.
I hear that. If I was like, don't you want to have more of a lighter side, kind of like,
Yeah. It's kind of like the
Prosper, or something like.
What's the name of the, you ever watch Rocky Bullwinkle?
Oh,
Rocky and Bullwinkle. Who's the?
I can't remember.
Boris and Natasha, right?
Boris and Natasha. It's you can't pick more villainous names,
right?
Blackstone. If I made a movie, right? If I wrote a movie where the bad, like there was a corporation that was like a massive, terrible corporation, and I named it Blackstone, people would probably say, "Oh, that's kind of on the nose. That's really
But you get sued, and then you wouldn't be able to release your movie,
right?" But it just seems like anybody. It was pretty obvious at the time. Somebody should have told them that. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So anyway, so Blackstone and all these private equity companies, they bought at the very height of the recession all of these homes across America.
Yeah.
Right. So all these homes were going into foreclosure. Blackstone and these,
they were gobbling them up.
They were gobbling up. They would go to auction. They would buy these things pennies on the dollar, and instead of just flipping them, they actually fixed them up, and then they rented them. Right. Because they looked at it as an asset with reoccurring income. Yeah. And they turned it around and became the nation, one of the nation's largest landlords. Yeah. Right. And what they were betting on and what they continued to bet on, and we talked about this 3 months ago, right? Where they were doubling down on buying more of these homes because their thesis was that millennials aren't going to buy homes. Right. They're just transient. They buy in experiences and they're just going to rent. They're not going to be like the forefathers and their, previous generations and do the sensible thing and buy a home. Nope. They're not going to do that. They're going to just, be cool with paying $2,000 in rent every single month and, be able to, go play Pokemon whenever they want and not adult. Right.
Yeah. Well,
like hashtag adulting. So surprise. They actually said that the rise in home ownership is actually coming from millennials, right? Which is actually going against their whole thesis. So I found that pretty fascinating.
It is. And, I think that in the immediate term, that's going to be kind of the way it's going to go. But I think that there could be a potential where Blackstone's going to be just fine. And that's going to be where
I'm not worried about.
Well, we're not worried about Blackstone. Trust me, Blackstone's doing just fine. But I think that I could, if we don't do something about the inventory issue, right? There's not going to be a lot of places for, and it's with appreciation going up. there's nothing on the lower end. There's
Right.
luxury, yes. We got plenty of luxury stuff, and you can go and buy a $4 million house somewhere,
Correct.
generally speaking.
Yeah.
For everything that's $1 million and under, which is what these folks are probably going to be buying, it's tough to find.
Yeah.
And so they're going to have no choice but to stay renters.
Right.
It goes right back to what we were talking about in the last story.
Right.
It's that if they're chasing after these prices because if there's low inventory, the prices go sky high, they're going to have to stay renting.
Yeah.
And so I think there's going to be we're going to see this big influx of the millennials starting to buy unless we can find some way to open up more inventory out there.
Right.
It's going to come back to being rentals again, but not by their choice.
I found something fascinating, and when I was in Dallas, it was glaring to me, right? So I'm looking at Money Magazine, right? And Money Magazine they released America's Best Places to Live issue, and in there I was looking at number 5 and number 6, right? And number 5 was Allen, Texas, and Allen, Texas is a suburb of Dallas. And there's a lot of technology actually moving in the area. Okay. So they said that the average wages in Allen, Texas, $105,000 a year. The growth rate is 17.4%, and the average home price is $330,000.
Sweet God, I need to move there. I'm moving there, and it's probably like a farm with 30 acres. Or
I'm
something.
sure. Yeah, you have to share. You share with the cows, but I mean, wow, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And then on the next page was Monterey Park, California.
Yeah. Well.
Right.
Oh my.
Right. Which is, I don't know. I mean, it's probably about 10 minutes from where Karen and I live in Arcadia.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit further south in the San Gabriel Valley. The average home price is $557,000. The employment growth is 4%, and the average salary is $59,000.
Yeah, well, here's the interesting thing about that, though. It was when I was listening to our Alexa briefing.
Yeah.
And I heard your report about the least affordable areas.
Yes.
You happen to mention not only I don't know if you mentioned Monterey Park, but you definitely mentioned Glendale.
Oh, that's the metropolitan area, right? So Los Angeles, Long Beach, Glendale,
right?
Yeah.
In places like Glendale, and places like Monterey Park, there's something very predominant about both of them, and there's a specific culture, that associates with both of them. I'm not going to go deep into that,
sure.
Okay, but I think basically there are certain nationalities that congregate there, and they're desperately trying to get into what is a very limited amount of homes.
Correct.
Which I think kind of skews the numbers a bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's not like it's like the general market. There's very specific reasons why people are trying to get homes in those areas. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So I'd be curious to see if you took that out of the mix.
Well, I mean, it's one of the top places to live in America.
I know,
right? So there's other factors of why that's attractive,
right?
The fact that it's close to metro lines, it's close to, it's freeway accessible. Yeah. So there, I mean, tons of perks on that,
right?
Right. But the point is, there's going to be a point where people are either going to rent, or they're going to move, right?
Yeah.
Because being homeless is not going to be an option.
But here's the thing that's interesting, though,
or an attractive option.
Well, but here's the thing.
Yeah.
And by the way, folks, if you are in the millennial category, if you consider yourself in the millennial category, I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments or somewhere that on our Facebook page. I'd love to hear whether or not if inventory starts to shut down here in basically the general Los Angeles area,
right,
is moving out to Santa Clarita, moving out to the outlying areas, is that even
Riverside?
Is that even a remote possibility for you?
Yeah,
because I find so much of that culture, the millennial culture, is so about the urban kind of being in the center of things and being where things and activities are happening. So I'd be really curious if please everybody, if you ever commented on this podcast, I'd love to hear from my own research whether or not that's something that's even something you would entertain.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're a millennial, would you consider moving out to the suburbs?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think with California, it's the golden dream, right? So, you look at why people move to LA in the first place, right? If you're not fortunate like Tom to have grown up here, you look at California as the land of opportunity, and the idea is that, well, I'm not going to be renting forever because I'm going to write my first screenplay and I'm going to make it big, or I'm going to, star in whatever movie, or I'm going to,
It's almost never your first screenplay,
right?
By the way.
Or some people it is, but not everybody. I think that guy with La La Land did pretty well, right?
Was that his first screenplay?
I don't know if it was his first
I don't think
screenplay,
so.
but I mean, he's kind of young, right? So he's like 30 years old.
Oh yeah, he's young.
He's
I'll
done.
definitely
He's
give you that.
done pretty well. I mean, he might have started at 5,
Yeah.
right? Writing screenplays,
Yeah.
and he's been hustling forever,
Right.
right? But that's kind of the idea is that okay, you move here and you're gonna sell your company, or you're just gonna kill it in the market and all of that. And if you can make it in LA, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's maybe that's what is where that comes to. And I think if people they come to that realization where okay, I can't afford rent, I can't buy, then okay, then and I'm trying to, and I'm doing everything I can.
Yeah.
So I think that's just something that people have to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fascinating, and this is so going to be a little side trip, so
Sure.
please, I apologize. But it actually cracks me up whenever I hear how derisively people talk about, like if they want to live in LA, they want to live in downtown, or they want to live in the West Side or whatever.
Right.
How derisively they talk about the Valley, or how down they are on the outlying areas.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I mean, I live in the Valley.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, I don't understand why you have to be insulting about it. Like,
Right.
I don't get it.
Right.
Like, is it really like that? You need to put that much energy into, despising something? Like it's just where people live, guys.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
that's the house I could afford. And I actually like going to this mall over here. And you know what I mean?
I love the Valley. I do tons of business in the Valley.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's like, is it really worth your energy to just like crap all over a certain area?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I knew nothing about Arcadia before,
Yeah.
right? I knew of the racetrack, right?
Yeah.
And that was it, right?
Right.
I knew Pasadena, and had been there lots of times, but I didn't know anything about
I think
Arcadia.
it really speaks to the human condition of wanting to be superior to somebody else. Or something like that, where we have to create ways to be superior. Like,
Sure.
there's no definitive reason why that my house is located in one zip code and yours is in another. Why you should think that you're better than me. That's absolutely stupid.
Yeah.
But all right, anyway, that was definitely a little side.
Wow, that could be a whole episode on its own.
think,
that,
right?
that could be its own podcast.
I know, right?
Not just an own episode.
All right, well, what's next on the news?
Okay, so the next one we have here is augmented reality.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so this one's from the New York Times. So it says augmented reality, the latest in real estate technology. Yeah. So I like this. I think this is pretty cool. So basically, your phone is its own computer, right? And taking pictures, it just opens up and with Snapchat filters and having a little dog face and all that kind of stuff. It's really opened things up for all sorts of different types of commerce, right? So what they're talking about here is when you download certain apps. So let's say, so the example they're giving here is, let's see here, Cambria. So it's a countertop manufacturer based in Eden Prairie, Minnesota. So they have an augmented reality app. So what you do is you download it and you point to your existing counter, right? So, I'm actually pointing to our table here, right here where we're recording the podcast. And you point your camera to it, and then all of a sudden you choose whatever marble or fixture or whatever you want, whatever you want for that surface, and you actually get to see it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Yeah. The thing about this is I'm of two minds about this. It's brilliant technology.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at it and it's kind of like, wow, that just blows me away.
Yeah.
They can, create that kind of alternate reality, that augmented reality. That's what it is. But at the same point, who the hell is downloading all these apps? Like, how many times are you, let's say you're out looking at a house, right? And do you ever really think like, oh, you know what? I should go to Cambria. The stone, like, there's no way to like go, nobody looks and goes, I wonder if there's something that I can see whether the granite counter would look like on my, if it was part of Amazon, like if it was something that Amazon had, that you have on your phone anyway, right? Or one of the bigger companies. Nobody's going out to these little tiny things and finding, we have all these apps, right? Yeah. But when you're actually out there looking at houses, how many times you actually think to like go, you know what, I should try this? I think it's so rare that happens.
I think it's at the point of sale. And I'll give you a perfect example. So when Karen and I moved to Westwood, right, which is where UCLA is, right? It's on the west side of LA. I actually had to map out our living room because we decided to rent because Karen was living in Texas, and she moved to LA to be with me, which is very sweet. Yes. I had to describe the house, right? So I had to take all these pictures, I had to create drawings, and I had to take pictures from my phone of what everything looked like. If I was able to just enter in the dimensions, and I was able to then go to Larry St. John, which is where we bought all our furniture, and input all those dimensions, and then she could move things around, and I could show her where this is where the credenza goes, and this is where the couch goes, and this is where this goes, and be able to set up the whole room and be able to visualize that. I'm a visual person, right? So we would have been able to have much more productive conversations and seen the dream, right? I wouldn't do that now because I'm not in the market to buy furniture.
And I get that.
Right.
I guess what I'm really kind of saying is, and by the way, guys, I'm 48 now. I think I had a birthday since the last time we talked.
That's right.
Or I was very close to that. And so there's a part of me that's also going, am I just getting too old for this shit? And but you know how many junk apps I have on my phone that I don't, like as soon as I download them, I don't open them?
Yeah.
And so what I'm talking about is if it's not, unless it's part of the OS, or unless it's some sort of part of a larger company that, like Google or something like that, what are the chances I'm going to go and download this app that some granite company has? I don't know. Do you know?
I think again, it's at the point of sale, right? So
but I guess I'm trying to put it into real estate. So yeah, if you're at your house, right?
Yep.
Maybe that's where I'm not being clear.
Okay.
If you're at your house and you're wondering, God, I wonder what a granite counter would look like at different colors or whatever like that.
Sure.
You already own the house.
Right.
Well, yeah, sure. Maybe you'll stumble across this app and all that kind of thing.
Correct.
I'm trying to keep it very because this is a real estate podcast.
Yeah.
In the real estate transaction, in the real estate from all the way through, it seems like one of those things like, oh yeah, dude, if we could do that, if we go into a vacant house and we can like look at what furniture would look like and all that kind of thing. And all that. Realistically, is that really gonna? I don't see people doing that.
Well, I mean, like I said, so one of the things is, so it talks about right here. So there's something that's called Measure Kit, and it says it's a digital ruler. So basically, you take a picture of a room. Yeah. It calculates it. So it knows. It has smart technology that actually knows that, if I take a picture of that side of the wall, this is 8 feet long.
Yeah.
Right? I don't have to get out a ruler and do that. That's awesome.
Awesome.
So if I just pan a room,
I'm not saying
now all of a
it's
sudden,
not awesome.
Wow, I've got this. And if I were IKEA or Wayfair or something like that, okay.
Now wait a minute. Now you're getting into exactly what I'm talking about.
I order the couch, I order the TV, I order the stand, and guess what? Now they're upselling me because now they have the stand that I'm not thinking of and everything else.
But that's what I am talking about.
Okay.
You said it yourself.
Yeah.
If I was IKEA,
yes,
okay, or some sort of larger company,
right,
I would swallow up these little apps.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I think there are too many apps. Okay. I think what we're talking about is junk apps.
Yeah.
Well, not junk. I mean, they do. It's so funny. You ever watch Alton Brown at all?
No. Never heard of it.
Alton Brown is a guy who was on Food Network, right?
Oh, okay.
And he did Good Eats and all that.
Oh, okay.
Good Eats. And it was a great show. If anybody hasn't watched it, please go watch it. Not right now. But he has a term for tools for the kitchen that only do one thing.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And he calls them a unitasker.
Okay.
So I have on my phone, I'm holding up my phone.
Yeah.
I have on my phone about 100 unitaskers.
Okay.
That I've never deleted.
Okay.
And I never even remember they're there.
Right.
Until I'm walking out, 3 hours later and I go, crap, I should have done that. Right? So what I'm talking about is if you're moving, let's say that you walk into a vacant house.
Yep.
Right? And you're doing your inspections, right? And so you got time to kill while the inspector walks around and does his inspection or whatever, and you can do the measuring,
Right.
and all that kind of thing.
Right.
I'm saying that this is not going to take off.
Mm-hmm.
This is what you're talking about. The augmented reality
Right.
is not going to take off until it gets absorbed by your Amazons, by your IKEAs, right? Where literally you're looking and going, oh, I'll buy that. I'll buy that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll buy, as a tool, as part of a bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not about that I think that augmented reality is useless.
Right.
I'm not saying at all. It's impressive.
Right.
But I'm saying it needs to be consolidated.
Mm-hmm.
These things there's so much, I think there's so much, there's a part of me when I hear that an app has been bought by another like larger company that I actually think I'm behind. I'm behind. It's not like, oh no, the little guy's getting swallowed by the big guy.
Right.
Like, no, they're finding a way to get that synergy where they work together. And that's what I think is that what we're going to be waiting for with real estate, real estate.
Right.
Is for these things to be swallowed by, unfortunately, Zillow, by Amazon, by IKEA. Then all of a sudden you're going to start seeing a renaissance of augmented reality for real estate. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I mean, you look at, apps, right? So Musically, right? I don't know how long that's been around. Did you hear about that?
It just got bought.
$800 million.
Yeah.
Almost $1 billion.
Well, but it's
by a Chinese social media site.
But here's the thing, though: is that, did you know about it before today?
I heard about it with that podcast you told me about.
Well, yeah. See, that's the thing is that we both listen to Gary V.
Right.
And Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah.
We've known about Musically for a year.
Sure.
Right, at least.
I never used it.
Well, of course. What are you going to do? You're not going to sing along like a teenager. It's a lip syncing app, right?
Plus, I do real karaoke. I do not lip sync.
You don't lip sync.
I don't.
You're
I do the
real
full
voice.
thing. That's right.
Just out there on the stage.
There you go.
But what they started to do was the kids who were doing this started using it as a messenger app.
Oh, okay.
And so that's what they're buying.
Right. Okay.
They want that info. That's like Facebook uses all the, when you talk on Facebook Messenger, it's getting all sorts of good information about you.
Right.
That's what they bought. Because it wasn't owned by Facebook. It wasn't owned by Snapchat. It wasn't owned by Twitter.
Right.
So it was one of the last big, because there's like how many millions of people on it each day.
Yeah.
If my idiot kid was singing, lip syncing on a freaking app that millions of people, I think I got bigger problems. But it just seems like the silliest thing. But that's what they were doing. Mm-hmm. So, but you were saying because it got swallowed. Is that what you were?
Yeah, because it got swallowed. Yeah. So all of these different apps that are out there, you have a big company like Amazon, or they see the technology and they only want that little piece of it. Right.
Yeah.
They don't really. They don't want to, invest in that company and take it public and make it big and big. No, they just want to take that little piece that it does better than what they can develop internally.
Right.
And that's why they use it.
But also, I think also the way that augmented reality is ingested needs to also be more advanced. Because I don't see a lot of people going into a place and holding up their cell phones and doing what you're talking about. Not yet. Right. But if it's somehow built into how we live our lives, like we don't walk around anymore without our phones.
Right.
It literally is how we live our lives.
Well, and what it says here is that the managing director of DigiCapital, Menlo Park, California, so, Northern California, they predicted by the end of 2018, there could be as many as 900 million smartphones and tablets capable of supporting augmented reality apps created from toolkits like Apple's ARC-Kit. I haven't heard of that before.
Probably
Google's AR Core and Facebook's camera effects.
Yeah.
So they're developing the stuff for it, right?
Yeah.
And it's all about money, right?
Yeah.
They're doing this for money. So I'm pretty excited about that. I think that's pretty cool.
But it's like, I think I spoke about this on the last podcast. I just got the VR goggles, virtual reality, which is different from, but it has elements of augmented reality, and because it has a camera hooked up to your TV, so that it can actually have things. You put on the headset, and things can play around in your room. Like it can actually see where things are, and you're going to have little bunnies jumping around and stuff like that, right? But you're still wearing this big freaking headset.
Sure.
Right? It's really I love it. I absolutely love the time that I watch things in VR. It's really amazing. It's I go, holy crap, if it gets any better than this,
right.
I could see myself getting lost for hours in here. But that being said, it gets to be it's too much after about 30 minutes because you're like, the thing's too heavy on your head. It's tight. And, as soon as they start to streamline that stuff, if they can find some way to create a better way to distribute it, then I think we're going to start seeing where people are like, let's say the glasses you're wearing, he's wearing glasses right now.
Yes.
Like if there's something that projects onto the glasses that you're wearing right now.
Okay.
Right? Where it's like you're wearing your glasses anyway.
Right. But I don't think it's just the headset. So I think it's more to do with, okay, so imagine you have, you've taken some clients out, they opened up the doors, you're looking at a listing and, by God, it's yours, right? And, the client is already thinking about where they're putting things and the TV is going to go there. And this is where this is going to be the man cave. And, this is, the wife is already thinking about the closet, all that stuff, right? You're already thinking about it because we're humans, right? We categorize things and that's how we think. Okay. So imagine you're at the inspection and you have the ability. So in addition to, someone like Ian, right, looking at the roof and going through and doing all of his things. But imagine if you are able to set up the studio where you're just, very quickly going around and scanning the room, right? Every single room. So similar to a Matterport or something like that. And now you have all of that. Now you're going and you're calling up Ted Cotter, right? The moving guy. Yeah. And you're giving him, here's all of the things that we have. And you're actually taking pictures of each individual item in your house, right? So you're taking major things. I'm not talking about every single thing, but major things, right? The couch. You're talking about the TV. You're talking about the, whatever it is, right? So you have all of the beds and the pictures and all of that. Now you go to your app, you open it up, and you have that blank room. Now you're dragging and dropping all of your stuff. So imagine you have all of your, the couches and the TVs and all of that. And, right now what you have to do is you just take, okay, so I remember where the room was and I remember this and I took a couple pictures. But you're not actually planning it all out.
No, I think that what you're talking about is awesome. And by the way, we should look into creating this. It's like a pre-move.
Yes,
right? Yes. But what I'm talking about is the distribution needs to change. The way that, not distribution, I mean the way that you ingest it needs to change.
Okay.
It's unwieldy to go around with your phone. It doesn't give you the feeling of what it's like to do. It's not there yet.
Right.
It's not there yet.
Not yet, but it's coming.
Oh, I believe it. And
it's coming.
And there's some stuff that's amazing.
And maybe this is something that, Ian adds to his toolkit.
Well, but by the way, this is something that I think that we've kind of stumbled upon, which I think is a great idea, is that the whole drag and drop thing, like if you could like do your where you live now and the house where you're at, first of all, you'd have to find a way if it wasn't vacant. If you have a vacant house, that's great. You're already there. You already have a blank slate.
Right, but if you have a staged house,
you have a staged house, you got to remove the stuff.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
So figuring that technology out.
Sure.
Right. But the drag and drop thing is like, and then going, if you have the measurements, that helps your mover out. It helps, and like you said, you can go and choose things, and what you have is the making of an amazing app.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that the way that they view that app is not. I don't think that the technology has reached a place where that would be widely accepted.
I bet you Amazon Key has already figured it out.
Amazon with their little cameras inside
inside of your house is taking pictures and dimensions and everything else.
Look, I think that there's no doubt that what you're talking about is really smart. And I think that that's a great idea. And if anybody wants to go in on it with us, we'll be happy to help develop that.
Yes.
But it's literally something that you don't, the reason that you carry your phone around is because you would carry your phone around anyway. You would walk around and you can't, and if it's missing, you feel like something's missing now.
Correct.
Right? I don't see augmented reality on the phone as being something that's being widely used. Pokemon Go is about the only time I've ever seen it like really embraced. Okay, and that was a game,
Right.
and people went crazy for it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like everybody started using it.
Right.
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 So I'm saying that if they can find some way to transcend the phone, right, or even an iPad, right? The iPad isn't going to give you the experience. Somehow it's got to be something where it's like a VR goggles.
Right.
Then you're going to start seeing where it's in like glasses.
Yeah.
Or like someone else we listened to said contacts, like somebody putting in contacts.
Yeah.
Or something like that, where it's literally like, well, you're going to wear those glasses anyway. Or it's so effortless.
Right.
And it gives such an immersive experience. Then we're going to start seeing augmented reality be an actual thing to be reckoned with.
Okay.
That's my feeling. Anyway,
Good stuff.
I think we killed that one. All right, next.
All right. So first hire an artist, then build the house. So this is from the Wall Street Journal. And, I thought this was kind of a fun story because, there's a trend in transforming your home. And it's not just, thinking of art as something you hang on a wall or a sculpture. It's actually taking a room and actually creating an art piece within it.
Right.
Right.
Well, even a sculpture, like let's say that you have like a piece of land that there would be an amazing place for a certain sculpture that would then you would build the house around it, basically.
Yeah. Well, you think of Leonardo da Vinci, right? You have the Sistine Chapel where everything is hand painted and it's very articulate and meticulously done, and itself is the art piece, right? And, a lot of, I would say, especially older, the baby boomers, they're saying their house is their forever home.
Yeah.
And they're really making it theirs.
Yeah.
And instead of, okay, I'm going to buy and find something and customize it however I want to do it, they're like, no, forget it. I'm just going to throw it in and this is my forever home.
I'm going to make this what I want.
I'm going to make it exactly what it is. And it's going to be up to my heirs to see how they want to sell it.
Well, okay. Well, now we're getting into where this becomes an issue.
Right.
Right. And that, you drive down the street and you're like, okay, house, medieval castle, house.
Yeah.
And you go, whoa, that guy, he had balls. He had balls. He wanted to do something. He wanted, he wanted a turret where he could put, pour, molten oil on people as they came in, like, if they started to charge over his moat. Right.
Yeah.
But at some point, it's like, okay, well, now what the hell is your son or daughter going to do who didn't share your dream? Right.
Yeah. Well, this guy in, I don't know, I think it was either in California or Florida, but he says, this is my forever house. He explains that he doesn't disclose the price he pays for the art. He said, the resale value is not my problem. It's my heir's problem.
Well, isn't that like, let's put this in a different way.
Oh, it's Venice. It's Venice, California.
Oh, Venice, California.
Yeah.
Let's put this in a different respect. That's literally like saying like, you know what? It's my heir's problem, so I'm just going to go ahead and, flush, chemicals into the ocean. And, it's along the same line. If you don't care about what you're leaving behind, you're kind of an asshole.
Well, yeah, a little bit.
That being said, you're enjoying your life. I'm not saying that.
True.
I'm just saying that in this kind of circumstance, what I would recommend is it's like the people who do garage conversions, right?
Yeah,
who basically turn their garage into an audio
into a third bedroom or something.
Third bedroom or whatever it is.
Yeah.
What I always say to them is like, look, that's cool if you want to do that.
Right.
And it's not permitted, but whatever, that's fine.
And they happen to all be in Culver City for some reason.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But at the same point, what I would do, leave the garage door on. Right, and build around it so that it's just easy to tear down a wall or somehow make it so that it isn't an issue for someone else. Because that's you get all the benefits of what you want it to be,
right?
But at the same point, give it a chance to like go back to what it was, or something like that. Now, the medieval castle is really hard to kind of undo that.
Yeah. Well, it was funny. There was it was one of those, I don't know, it was on Facebook, and it was just a random video that had popped up in my news feed, and it said some rich guy decides to transform his house. So over a week, he takes this, I'd say maybe I don't know, probably about 8,000 square foot mansion in Las Vegas, which is pristine white, and he graffitis the entire building inside and out.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, it was cool, so they featured all this pop art from, Casino and The Godfather and all this stereotypical gangster stuff, right? And stereotypical Las Vegas icons. But I mean, wow, that would be really hard to sell.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you could paint over it, I guess, but if you try to sell it as is, that's gonna be a very specific buyer.
Right. And it's interesting. I just literally thought of an instance where I went to a hotel. Well, it was a resort in Arizona. And you'll kind of hopefully you'll understand where I'm going with this when I start going in it. But they the outside, the exterior landscaping, and the kind of the way they brought the rocks and the formations of the whole area into play into the resort was sort of like this organic, really kind of beautiful. It was gorgeous. It was I can't remember. I can't remember the names. It was even like the Rocks or something like that. It was like the name of the place. It was just gorgeous. It was one of the most beautiful hotels I've ever stayed at.
Yeah.
Because literally you walk out the door, right, and the architecture and all these kind of sculptures and rock formations are all perfectly thought of to come together. So that's different, right?
Right.
Because then it's an experience that anybody who walks in is going to go. There's going to be at least some percentage of the population that's going to go, oh shit, I'd buy this. You know what I mean? There's not going to be some sort of, so I think if you have a beautiful piece of art, and you think that, oh my God, that would be gorgeous on this, flat piece of whatever, or, the light would come in perfectly through the trees or whatever kind of thing.
Right.
And then let's build the house around that. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Right.
It's just as long as it's organic.
Right.
I think really organic is what I'm getting at. It's either organic or in some way can be reversed.
Right, and I mean, I think the other piece is, I mean, you could, it's your house, you can do whatever you want with it, right?
Absolutely,
within the bounds of whatever. But and I think if you do hit a place where you do need to sell, or you want to sell, just know that you paid that artist $100,000 to do the nice basically recreate the Sistine Chapel on your roof of your house. But guess what? People might not want to pay for it. It may not be value added. They may tell you to get rid of it. So you may, I think if you're prepared to just know that, not everybody's going to share.
It could be a total loss.
It could be a total loss.
Yeah.
So you may not be able to upsell that as part of the house, right?
Right.
It may not add value even though you paid for it.
Right.
Right.
So you have, Banksy come in and do all sorts of, graffiti and all that. It's not necessarily going to pay off.
Right.
Although those, it was funny when he came to LA, what was it, 3 or 4 years ago? Or was it a little bit? He had a residency in LA for a few months. And he painted on the side of a restaurant or something like that. And all of a sudden the next day the wall was gone. They actually ripped the wall out.
Oh, wow.
In order to get money from it. But yeah, I mean, it sometimes doesn't always work that way. If it's some local artist that you just love.
Right.
Oh my God, his art speaks to me. It's like everybody walks in and goes, oh my God, what is this nightmare?
Right.
You're taking that chance.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
All right, and next.
Okay, so this is from the OC Register. So Orange County, the headline is payment hike possible for a fifth of all home equity loans. This scares the bejesus out of me.
Yeah, it's sort of bearing the lead here. This is sort of a very dicey situation, but
it really is.
It could very well turn into another crisis. But.
Yeah. So HELOCs, right? Home equity lines of credit. These were very popular pre-recession, and certainly even post-recession. And I think what a lot of people don't realize is so it's like a credit card where you're paying interest only, right? So it's not a mortgage per se, but with a HELOC, what happens is you go ahead and you can either use it as a line of credit where you add to it.
Yeah.
Every single month you can just use it like a credit card, or use it like a checking account, or you could just take out the money, right? And you pay on that interest, right? Now that interest, it resets every single month, and it's subject to the market. And unlike a adjustable rate mortgage where you're subject to certain caps, there aren't caps.
Right.
Right. So you could be paying 18% if that's what the underlying market is.
Right.
Right now, it's been very low interest rates for a long time, right? Ever since 2006. So people's interest rate payments on HELOCs have not all been that high.
No.
Right. But the biggest challenge is that interest only period is typically 10 years.
Right.
Right. So imagine, and this is the most extreme example, right? So I had a client one time come to me and, I didn't sell him the HELOC, but he bought it on his own, where he started with $100,000 HELOC and it grew to $700,000. He had a lot of equity in the house, right?
Okay.
So it grew to $700,000 and he was paying interest only, and the interest only payments were $2,000 a month on a $700,000 balance.
Right.
He told me that within a couple of months, it's now going to reset to a 15-year amortization, which means he's going to pay both principal and interest. And that 15 years, based on that $700,000, he was now going to pay $7,000 a month.
That's insanity.
So a $5,000 increase like that.
Yeah. And you spoke about this is one of our Alexa Spotlight articles. This was someone that you definitely shared on the Alexa. And I think for good reason. I think that this is something that we really need to be looking at on the horizon as a potential huge factor in the housing market.
Yeah.
I mean, if we have another, let's say uptick of homes starting to be foreclosed upon. Mm-hmm. I mean, in theory, it would put some more inventory back on the market, and there's definitely demand out there. So maybe, hopefully, there'll be this kind of homeostasis. There's going to be like this kind of at the beginning. Hopefully, it doesn't crash. You know what I mean? Maybe that might be what I'm talking about in terms of the millennials and how we're talking about the rentals. Maybe this is that thing that's going to open up in order to give the millennials a chance to get into some houses.
Well, the key really is, the headline was a fifth of these mortgages.
That's insanity.
Are going to reset this year, right? That's the crazy thing. This year, a fifth of all of those HELOCs are going to reset, which means that people are either prepared or they're not. And I would definitely,
there's going to be a percentage that are not.
There's going to be a massive percentage that are not.
Yeah.
And what if I owned a HELOC, what I would do right now is I would find out where I am in my overall payment term. So basically you say, okay, when did I take it out? Right? Was that 10 years ago? Was that 5 years ago? Was that 3 years ago? And I would also want to know, okay, how long do I have before this thing resets? And then also, what is my current balance? What is my interest rate? And I would start planning on, okay, because this thing can continue to increase just like a credit card, you want to make sure that you can afford those monthly payments. And, if it's gotten way out of hand and, even if you have a first loan that's at a lower interest rate, you might want to consolidate.
Yeah.
Right. I've had a lot of clients do that. I've had clients where they'll take their first loan, their second loan, we combine the two, and it's just one low fixed rate.
So this is something that completely frustrates me. And it's about folks who are so afraid of what they're going to hear that they don't actually get out there and make the necessary phone calls that they need to make. They don't, get in touch with the people that need to get the answers for them. Mm-hmm. I think that one of the main reasons that a lot of these folks are going to, basically be in jeopardy is because they've put their head in the ground and they don't want to hear how bad things were.
Right.
It's like, oh my God, they're going to tell. They could hear that it's like, oh, it's not going to be that bad or whatever. But if you keep on leaving it and, kicking the can down the street, you're going to run into a problem where you get into a much more complicated situation than you needed to be.
Absolutely.
You could have dealt with it in a much more holistic and full way, like where you're not just at the 11th hour caught with your pants down.
Right.
I mean, it's ridiculous that we're even having this conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you don't want a credit card on your house to take you down. That's for sure.
God, for God's sake, folks.
Mm-hmm.
If this is what I implore people, everyone out there that's listening, who might have one of these, a HELOC or whatever that might be coming up, for God's sake, make a goddamn phone call.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
Stop this podcast or whatever.
Or just read your statement. It says it right there. It says it right there.
Do something. Do not get this. Don't be caught not looking.
Right. Or send it to me because I'm happy to. I'll let you know exactly where you are.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. It's just. It frustrates me to see, how folks will just literally, they'd rather suffer the consequences than get some bad news.
Right.
They'd rather hear that they've, they'd rather hear that they've got lung cancer than be told by a doctor that, if they had been, 5 years earlier, it's like, hey, you should stop smoking because I see a little spot on your lung or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, guys, right now, take care of, and this goes for, just any kind of circumstance where you guys are out there and you're putting your head in the sand. It doesn't help you. It does not help you. And so I would encourage everyone who is, I mean, this is just in general, if you have something that feels like in the pit of your stomach that, oh my God, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to even face it right now. That should be your first inclination to do it.
Right.
You should literally, if you're like, I don't want to call that person, that should be the next thing. The next thing you do is pick up the phone and start hitting their numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. And you should also know yourself, right? So, I was talking to, a potential client and, we were talking about, she was trying to consolidate some debt. And I said, well, you've got two options, right? You can either take out a HELOC and go ahead and set that up, and where you just basically take the money, you leverage the equity in your home and you just pay that off. But you are subject to the interest rate risk. You're subject to payments going up. You're subject to it eventually reaching a principal and interest period. Or you could just leverage your existing loan, do a cash out refi, take that money out, and then just pay the fixed payment. So, I said basically you have to set it and forget it. And then you have one where you got to monitor it.
Right.
And, the client was very honest with herself. She said, you know what? I'm not one of those where I'm very... I'm more of the set it and forget it.
Right.
I'm not going to pay attention to what's going on with the HELOC and what's going on with interest rates. I'm just going to go about my life.
Right.
Which I think a lot of people are in that position, right? So
it's irresponsible.
Yeah. So, I mean, just because the ad on TV says, go for the HELOC, go for this, understand what the financial product you're getting into.
Absolutely.
Right. Don't let salespeople just force things on you. It should really be how you are a person, right? And it kind of gets back to the first story we were talking about is, if you're really wanting to save up for a home, designate an account, right? And have that money taken out in the beginning where you don't even see it. Right? Don't just say that, okay, yeah, we're going to buy a home, we're going to buy a home, we're going to buy a home. And then when you get the big windfall or whatever, it's going to go to that.
And look, when you make the phone call to us, we're going to tell you probably one of two things. If you have this issue, you think that there's this issue coming up, we're going to tell you one of two things. Either A, this is how we're going to deal with it, right? So that you don't get screwed, right? Or we're going to tell you, okay, you're going to get screwed, but this is how you're going to deal with it.
Correct.
Either way, the phone call is better.
That's right.
Either way, the getting educated is better.
Absolutely.
Because you're not just flailing when circumstances happen to you.
Exactly.
You're getting ahead of the game. If you're waiting for the world and life to happen to you, you're always going to get caught and suffer.
Right.
It's always better to get ahead.
Absolutely.
All right. Next.
All right. So this is our final story of the day. This was kind of a fun one. So this is back to our friends, the Millennials. And this says, so it says, selling a house to Millennials. This is from the Wall Street Journal. Bring a camera and fake eyelashes. A wave of young buyers ask realtors to help coordinate elaborate post-closing photo shoots for social media.
Oh my God. It's so funny how, nowadays we live life on social media.
You're such a great photographer. So, I mean, this is something that you could upsell or,
hey, that's actually not a bad idea. Look at you.
See, I'm full of
Ron
ideas
just gave me
morning.
a new stream of income here.
There you go.
Or basically a new way to market myself.
Or, I would think that it would save you money on,
It's
buying.
Actually, Ron, I think you've come up with an amazing idea.
There you go.
From now on, if anybody's out there who is looking to buy a house, part of my closing gift to you,
it's the closing gift,
will be a photo shoot.
That's right.
Just tell me you want your photo shoot.
Yep.
And we'll do like a whole thing.
Yeah.
We'll figure out a whole cool photo shoot for you with you in your new house.
Yeah. So I mean,
people.
There's pictures of there's like a couple dancing in
in the
room.
vacant house.
They have
kissing on the front
porch.
I love it.
Creating a heart symbol with the key in the middle.
Oh, look at that.
Carrying your bride through the threshold of the door and writing on the chalkboards and all that stuff. See?
That's fantastic. Yeah, because people take pictures of weddings and babies and every other thing that happens in their life.
Yeah.
If you can get through an escrow successfully and be happy that you're moving into your own house, holy crap, yeah, absolutely. You want to take a picture of that.
100%.
It's funny. I'll share a little bit of one of my little secrets that I do for the most part, most closings that I do, and you have to kind of know the client, just kind of make sure that it's all good. But it harkens back to when I bought my home that I'm in right now, and my agent that we're very good friends still, and I'm actually, we work a lot together, and one of the things he did was, and we joked about, if we can get through this thing, oh man, we're gonna have a drink and it's gonna be great,
right?
That kind of thing. So literally, when he handed off the keys, he brought in a 12-pack of the cheapest Mexican beer, not to be named right here because they, not sponsors.
Sure.
But basically saying, all right, let's do it. And sitting on my floor of my living room floor, drinking that cold, disgusting beer was literally the best beer I'd ever had in my life.
Absolutely.
And so I will occasionally, depending on the client,
right,
I will bring in,
cheap Mexican beer
and share that experience because it's just the best thing in the world. It's just to look around the room and go, this is mine. This is mine.
Well, and just instant gratification and feedback, and it's all a drug, right?
Well, it's an emotional experience.
Well, it's an emotional experience, and also when you share things with others, it's a high, right? I mean, your body actually, the reason why social media works is because you receive instant gratification and you have validation for yourself.
People are hitting the like button.
Exactly.
And that's, and these pictures, and it's like professional photography. And because I do, that's one of my things that I always give my clients is especially on the selling side, is my services as a professional photographer on top of being a real estate agent. This is amazing. It's awesome. A great idea.
Yeah, and it doesn't cost you anything. Right? It's just your time and
just my time and effort
and setting things up.
But that's beautiful though.
Absolutely,
I love it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I think it's kind of cool. I think it's a fun story. And I definitely see it as a trend, and I think it's a great closing gift. Yeah. Because it's something that, not only it can be artwork on the wall, but it also obviously social media and everything else. Yeah. People used to go to celebrities and ask for autographs, but now they're asking for selfies. Yeah. Right?
Well, look, you got weddings, engagement photos, maternity, like baby photos. Yeah. Why not?
Absolutely.
Have it be a new home photo.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. They could hold their first mortgage, and 2 months from then, they could hold it in front and get really excited about it. Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, that could be the other one. You pay off a mortgage.
Right.
I just hope I'm around.
Yeah. Right.
To help everybody from that standpoint.
All right. Well, that's about it for today. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to leave them for us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Clarified Realty Podcast, all one word. If you have any questions about real estate or you're looking for someone to help you buy or sell a home with or without pictures, remember, I'm actually a licensed real estate agent. I'd love to help you out. So please email me directly at tom@clarifiedrealty.com or give me a call at 818-335-7662. Don't be shy. Give me a ring. For more exclusive bonus content and advice between episodes, please check out our website, www.clarifiedrealty.com. Also on our homepage, you'll find links to helpful buyer and seller guides that can give you some great information for starting your home buying or home seller process. So definitely check those out. We mentioned here, we have an Alexa skill. So search the Alexa store for the Clarified Realty Podcast, add our skill to your daily briefing, and get a dose of real estate news and tips every day of the year. Definitely give it a try. It's really cool. I'm on Snapchat, Twitter, and Instagram as well. My handle for all three of those are @ClarifiedRealty. Please leave feedback, guys. Come on, leave feedback and reviews on iTunes or in the comment section on our page. Together we're stronger, so if you have any questions or ways that we can make this podcast better, please let me know. My amazing theme song, Hey Now, is from the band Wolf. That's Wolf with 2 Fs. And please go check them out and like them on SoundCloud. They rock so freaking hard, you're going to want to build a house around them because they're a work of art that kicks your ass. And just a little disclaimer, I'm licensed by the California Bureau of Real Estate. My license number is 01715353. Ron's is?
Guaranteed rate, NMLS 2611, NMLS ID 558706, California and Texas.
The advice we give is only for properties located in the state of California. For all other states, please contact your local real estate agent or real estate professional. Well, that's about it. Ron, you all good?
I'm good.
All right. Well, thanks for coming by, everybody. Remember, the greatest thing you can ever do is make someone feel at home. Take care. We'll see you next week. Yeah.
What you gonna do with your life?